Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Beastmen led by KHAZRAK One Eye and the Dwarves who are going to be led by the High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as the primary core of our army, we do actually have 4 groups of the Bestigor herds here in the middle, and they're really going to be doing most of the heavy lifting and kind of buying time for my troops on the flanks, including the chariots, as well as some of these raiders to get into the back line. So in total, we do have 4 groups of the Bestigor herds. Definitely very solid against dwarves, very good armor piercing damage, 40 weapon strength overall. The thing that really makes Bestigors pretty good though is their charge bonus. So when they get that initial charge, they're going to hit really hard against dwarf infantry. So 28 of their 40 damage is going to be armor piercing, a charge bonus of 35, and these guys are ready to party. So we got 4 of them. In the secondary line, these guys are actually really good in the dwarf matchup. So I don't think you need to get too many of them, but having 2 groups is really solid. Number 1, they can pick off slayers just with kind of a volume of fire. They have stock, so they're not going to take damage on the approach from artillery, the goblobber, things like that. And they also give you a little bit of a counter to gyrocopters. They're not going to kill them quickly, but at least it gives you an answer and forces your opponent to micro a little bit. Over here, 1 group of centaurs with great weapons just to give us some mobile armor piercing that can actually stick on a target, unlike the chariots. But I'm going to be relying on my chariots mostly for the armor piercing, and you guys can see I have the glorious horde over here. So KHAZRAK One Eye on his chariot. And if he does have a niche, I definitely think, like you guys saw in my recent video, that he's one of the weaker lords in the game. But if he does have a niche on his chariot, it's going to be against the dwarves, because they don't have like a big flying lord like Boris Todbringer or Marathi or Malekith that can really intercept him and just pin him down. So KHAZRAK on the chariot here is going to be leading the chariot army. So 2 groups of Razorgore chariots, which are pretty expensive, but they're really damn powerful. They have high armor piercing, a huge erect charge bonus of 80 there, and a bonus for his infantry of 24. On top of that, we do have a Deathcaster. So I think Death is actually probably one of the best lords of magic against the dwarves. Spirit Leech is pretty good against their lords, and Fade Abuna is really good against like Ironbreakers and stuff like that. So we do have a Bray Shaman all around chariots. We have a lot of chariot action coming in here. Hopefully it'll do well. And this is also something else that I think is pretty much should be a staple against the dwarves, getting Ungor herds. They have Vanguard deployment, you get them with the shields, you sneak them around the back lines, you get on Slayers, you get on their artillery, their missile units, and yeah, I mean, they have a lot of models, a lot of HP for the dwarves to get through. They make pretty good chaff units / distractions. For my opponent's army, he does have the classic Dowie Onion, so 2 miners with blasting charges up here to kind of absorb my initial charge. He does have 2 groups of the bolt throwers, and looks like the bolt throwers are going to be shooting at the chariots, and honestly, that's not a bad idea. The bolt throwers do have anti-large and armor piercing, and the chariots are heavily armored and large. So over the course of a long battle, they can grind down a group of chariots if they're protected. His entire front line is going to be standard Longbeards, High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer, who does have a new ability, relatively new. It's been around for a while now, but a lot of people don't know. He does have the Oath of Vengeance, so he can actually lower armor or melee defense of a target, which is pretty cool. 2 groups of Bugman's Rangers, just kind of an all-around good unit. It looks like actually just, yeah, 2, and then 1 group of Thunders, another kind of a tool to shoot down my chariots, and he does have Dragonback Slayers and Giant Slayers. So guys, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So right now, knowing the Dowie Onion was here, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to come in here and just try and take these guys out and waste their blasting charges. Blasting charges don't do a lot against chariots and armored units. So we get in there, the zoo is in town, and we're going to be riding through these miners, doing some pretty devastating damage for sure. And this group is just going to kind of get mowed over as well. Seems like I was a little bit bunched up with the chariots though, so maybe I should have like staggered the charges, but wasting all those blasting charges, keeping them from getting onto my Bestigors. We basically just melted those 2 groups. So right now I'm just going to be going just back and forth to Bacon, just running rampant amongst the dwarf ranks already. And you can see KHAZRAK there just riding through the flames, straight up 80s action hero status. Actually looks like he's quite a bit smaller than that Bestigor right there. I feel like KHAZRAK, is that just me? I feel like KHAZRAK's like super dwarfed by that guy. I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, the Bestigors are going to be pushing through into the mainline engagement. In the meantime, Centaurs with great weapons are getting here. Ungor herds might be able to, I don't know, if they get the blasting charges off, I feel like the miners will win. But if they don't, yeah, this is not going to be good. So here comes, the Ungor herds are just going to be getting tossed into another dimension by these blasting charges here. You can see definitely not fun for these guys, these goat people. But regardless, they're going to take it like champs. And then buying time for this other group to get around, as well as the Centaurs with great weapons. So the frontline engagement is underway. The Bestigors should make relatively, not quick work, but they're going to get through these Longbeards, and they're going to win. The Longbeards don't really have good armor piercing against the 95 or 100 armor of the Bestigors. I know there's been some changes. Yeah, it's 95. But the Bestigors in the front line doing well. I do get a Fade Abuna effect off on this group, and this 1 group of Bestigors is going to be charging them as well. But the chariots are doing most of the heavy lifting. Just kind of outmaneuvering the Dragonback Slayers, and I basically lured the Dragonback Slayers into this engagement here. So now they're going to be getting attacked by my flanking Ungor herds, which is great, just a complete waste for them. The Bestigors are getting a rear charge, and the chariots are just steamrolling through the back of the Dwarven formation, just punting all over them, which is great. So very happy with the performance of the Chariot Goon Squad so far. It's probably a little bit more efficient to micro them in like 2 separate groups, but I found that like just to, you know, if you're not feeling on the top of your game, just get them in one big Zerg and just kind of ride around, because you don't have to worry about the Tormentor sword anymore. So the Razorgore Chariot here getting a little bit beat up by the Bolt Throwers and some of the Slayers. The Giant Slayers, or I think Dragonback, were able to do some pretty good damage here. The Centaurs collapsing in on the Thunders. Back here just kind of zerging my opponent's back line. The Ungor Herds doing a very good job kind of cutting through these Bolt Throwers, although it looks like they're running through. I remember telling them to attack this thing, but I guess they have other plans. So regardless, you can see the Bugman's Rangers too, also taking a lot of damage. So that's why you bring the Ungor Raiders. They're very, very good against the Bugman's Rangers. Even though Bugman's like will outtrade them 1-to-1, for the cost, these things are dirt cheap. You can use them. They'll sneak up. They can take out artillery. They can shoot down Bugman's Rangers and even kind of apply annoying pressure to Quarrelers and things like that. So you can see the damage continuing to pour on here. The Ungors are now coming back to finish off the target that they were intended to finish off. KHAZRAK One Eye popping the Scourge, giving a melee attack and poison, having to run from these Giant Slayers, not wanting any part of these angry Dowie here, who are going to be chasing them surprisingly. They look like they're surprisingly fast, but I think they have like 40 move speed, and the Chariots, now that they're free, should be okay. So that's what's really fun about Chariots. You kind of just like set the rest of your army to do its business. You're like, all right, Vestigores, you guys go grind out the front line, and then from there, the Chariots, that's pretty much all you really have to micro very aggressively once you get things going. But the Chariots running around, racking up 16 kills, 14. KHAZRAK has 42, and the other one has 30, so getting a decent amount of kills against the Dwarves. But the frontline engagement, I think, is really one of the big deciding factors here. The Vestigores are just grinding through these Longbeards, doing a really, really good job. And those Raiders, too, paying huge dues, just providing Overwatch fire into Slayers, which the Dragonback Slayers do have some sort of a mitigation against missile attacks. You can see they do have that bronze shield, so they actually have something called whirling axes. So if you guys look, they can like karate chop like arrows out of the sky, which is pretty funny. Although it looks like there's some arrows in the back of that Dwarf's head, he's still cheering. So I mean, I guess maybe their skulls are the mitigation against the missiles there, but you can see they are finally getting picked off by those Raiders, which is very good. In the meantime, another Fate Abuna going off on the Giant Slayers here, trying to wear down the Slayers. I can't tell you how many games I've lost. It's like you kill the entire Dwarven army, but then there's just like an angry group of like Slayers just chasing like 50 or 60 of them, and you're like, oh, I can't finish them off. But this time I'm not going to make that same mistake, getting the Fate Abuna off on those guys. And the Vestigores are collapsing now. There still are some Longbeards putting up an okay fight, saturated with some Miners, which is actually a pretty good combo, because the Miners do bring some AP, but of course they can't trade effectively alone with Vestigores. But I guess Vestigores don't really have the best melee defense. Let's actually go ahead and take a look. So yeah, they only have 24, so I guess Miners can do some damage. Barry's continuing to do great work. 24 here, KHAZRAK's up to 53, 37 here. And on the far side of the battlefield, you can see our flanking Ungors and some of these Vestigores were able to collapse the Miners that were defending this flank. And we're chasing off the Thunders now at this point, so it's looking a little bit tough for the Dwarves, getting a little bit beat up now. They still do have a pocket of resistance. And High King Thorgrim, KHAZRAK on his Chariot isn't going to be particularly good against Thorgrim. We really need to surround him with Vestigores. Otherwise, he's just going to be a terror in the night. You can see he's just going to be karate chopping my Deathcaster right there, doing a lot of damage and slightly pulling the bounce of power as he does that. Thorgrim is actually a really good duelist. A lot of people don't know that. They just think he's like a support, lord up on his toilet seat here, but he is a really, really good duelist. I mean, he can smash face pretty hard. I mean, he has 120 armor, high melee attack, high melee defense, and a melee defense debuff now, which is really, really good stuff. Anyways, the Chariot's continuing to smash into this formation here, hitting the Miners and the Longbeards, and I am repositioning my Ungor Raiders to give me some Overwatch fire here, so we can pretty much pull back and just pick apart the last of the Dwarf forces, but collapsing in with the Ungor herds. Here in the distance, you can see that these Ungors and the Vestigores are going to be coming back, because I definitely need them. I don't think I have enough stopping power here to really take out Thorgrim, so once the Vestigores get there, though, 64 should be able to take them out with the supportive infantry and archers and everything, so that's pretty much going to be all she wrote for the Dwarves. Definitely really like the Chariots this game, and if there's a niche for KHAZRAK, because after we did that list video talking about the worst lords and everything, I was like, I wonder what niches KHAZRAK would have. So I've been exploring him a little bit, trying to, feel it out, and I feel like he can do good against Dwarves. I mean, he is subject to like heavy focus fire, for example, so you need to watch out for that. But now that the Tormentor Sword isn't here, and kind of a lot of my negative experiences I had with KHAZRAK against the Dwarves in the past were when they had the Tormentor Swords, because they would just torment him and he would get beaten down or focused by missiles. But now that that's gone, I feel like he's certainly a little bit stronger. I still don't think he's good in many other matchups, but against the Dwarves, I can see him having a niche on his Chariot for sure, because obviously Chariots have just always been really good against the Dwarves. So 59, 71, 17 on these Razorgore Chariots, definitely pretty happy with their performance. The Vestigores did really good. These guys were really the MVPs. The Chariots were just like kind of disruptive and annoying in the back line, but yeah, these Vestigores just, and you guys have seen probably on a lot of people's channels. I actually saw a video on Janet on Occasion's channel the other day where it was like a high elf build where it's just like mass Swordmasters of Hoth against Dwarves, and Dwarves definitely do struggle with heavy infantry, like heavy armor piercing infantry like Chosen and that type of stuff. So it's kind of like the similar principle here, but Dwarves can counter it, mind you. Like Dwarves can completely answer like heavy infantry by using like runesmiths and having layers and good missile pressure and things like that. But it's still pretty tough for them. So yeah, I like the build quite a bit. It was pretty fun using KHAZRAK. He actually performed well. I was quite pleased with that, and the Raiders were cool as well. For my opponent's army, I did like the Miners with blasting charges. Being able to kind of peel that onion with the initial Vanguard charge of the Razorgore Chariots was definitely very nice. But I don't know, maybe the Longbeards, I think you might need a little bit of armor piercing, because just think of it this way. The Longbeards here, yes, they have the shields, they have higher melee defense, but they're just going to get utterly crushed by Vestigores and give very little back. Whereas if you bring Longbeards with great weapons or mix in a little bit more armor piercing, I know he had miners and maybe was counting on those guys plus the Thunders, but I don't think that's enough against like 4 Vestigores. So Longbeards with great weapons are actually pretty good. They have charge defense against large as well, so they can, brace against chariots and things like that, and they also give it back to Vestigores quite a bit more. I also think that you really need runesmiths. On Thorgrim's, he was good. I mean, he can be good. So get Thorgrim and get like double runesmiths. Maybe cut a little bit of fat here. Maybe not. Yeah, Bolt Thors didn't do so hot, so maybe cut those guys. I'm not sure, but I mean, I have seen Bolt Thors do pretty well against chariots, but I still think it's pretty risky against the Beastmen, who are a faction that is really going to wrap you up. So anyways, very well played to my opponent, srizzo88. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing KHAZRAK the One Eye in action. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.